I really miss E3. Back in ye olden times, E3 was the gaming event of the year. Every June, a whole bunch of developers and publishers would attend to show off what they'd been cooking behind the scenes, and it was huge. There were massive announcements, appearances from the industry's greatest, and legendary moments that people still talk about to this day.
They can trade in the game at retail, sell it to another person, lend it to a friend, or keep it forever.
But I think that without a shadow of a doubt, the main attraction had to be the abundance of cringe. Every year, we were treated to a goldmine of memeable moments ranging from technical difficulties to awkward and uncomfortable attempts at humour.
There's so many virgins in here. Richard Branson is doing this event.
There are so many noteworthy moments, but which one of them is the cringiest? The one that makes you grit your teeth so much that they start to break? I've asked myself this question a couple of times, and really struggled to nail it down to just one. So, I did the only logical thing and asked the r/videogames subreddit. I got a hell of a response. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look through all of these comments and then rank them on this tier list that I whipped up here. There are 5 tiers in total, starting from 0.5% cringe, all the way up to the cringe, make it stop! Let's travel back in time, grab our Doritos and Mountain Dew, and prepare to answer the question, what is the cringiest E3 moment? And I think it's only fair that we start with the top comment. And oh boy, are we striking gold right out of the gate. The Peggle 2 announcement. This 30-second clip of this awkward looking developer announcing Peggle 2 in the most bizarre way possible is nothing short of pure comedy gold. Following the announcement of Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare and showing the audience a little gameplay demo to some good buzz, the developers had one more thing to announce.
Peggle 2!
What the hell is that?
Every single time that I watch this clip, I find myself with a multitude of questions. Why was it announced like that? Why did he do that really awkward jump? What's with the Beethoven music? Why did it awkwardly transition to Titanfall with no trailer to show the gameplay or anything? It's just amazing, and I think that this comment perfectly sums it all up. The jump, the silence, the immediate transition to Titanfall without a moment's hesitation, it's all just so perfect. This is 100% going into the cringe make it stop tier. Up next is the legendary Mr. Caffeine. He's a fast-talking, sweaty man who tries his absolute hardest to get some laughs out of the audience. But everyone mostly remembers him for his classic catchphrase. Say it with me now. Diddly 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 diddly. At certain times, he'll ask the audience to travel back in time with him to look at some old school looking mock-ups of Ubisoft games, but not before uttering those iconic words.
Don't forget to speak very, very clearly.
Now, I will be honest, it is a bit of a hard watch, especially due to the audience's lack of a response when he tries to engage with them.
Here, hold my joy wand.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I mean, at one point you can even see him give up after trying and failing to get the crowd to join in with him. However, I find him somewhat entertaining. Not once did he falter during his time on stage. He kept up this whole energetic persona for the entirety of the 1 hour show. That takes some serious cojones, especially when everything you say either falls flat or doesn't get the response you hoped it would.
Hey, funny guy! I got a joke for you! What smells rotten and puts people to sleep?
Dancing.
No! Your act!
I get why people find him cringy, I do too, but not as much as other examples like Peggle 2.
This is awful in every way.
Mr. Caffeine is going into the second-hand embarrassment tier. So we actually have multiple ones up next. My plan initially was to go through all of these one at a time, but upon writing this, I found out that all 3 of these are actually from the Sony 2006 conference. I decided to dig a little bit deeper and found that people really hated this one. But why? Well, a number of different reasons. Firstly, the entire conference felt awkward, with each new thing Sony announced or spoke about just not hitting the mark. This is where iconic moments like Ridge Racer or the giant enemy crab memes come from. Then there's the fact that a large portion of the games shown were either cancelled or just straight up fake. There is absolutely no way that you can look at the trailer for 8 days and tell me that that is an engine. No way, sir, not for 2006. Then finally, there's the infamous PS3 price tag, $599. Whew boy, that's a lot of money. At the time when the Xbox 360 was dominating, had revolutionary UI, a library of some of the best games ever made, and the fact it was a whole $200 cheaper on release, it's easy to see why people were angry at the PS3's outlandish price tag. Honestly, go and watch 5 minutes of this conference and you'll quickly see how awkward and stiff everything feels. This was definitely a rough one to get through, and it deserves to be in no other tier than that was rough. Microsoft may have dominated the 7th generation with the 360, but they've had a lot more fumbles than Sony. And I think there's no better example than our next entry, the Xbox One reveal. Whilst it may not have been directly shown off at E3, it still hurt Microsoft in the next console race. But why? Well, it's a trilogy of disasters, starting with the leaks and rumours before the official unveiling. Sources claimed that the next Xbox would have an always online feature, and that you couldn't buy used games. The Microsoft execs sort of not really debunked this, and their statements left a lot of people confused. Next came the reveal conference, and all I have to say is...
TV and movies? TV. Sports TV. Anybody?
Then we finally come to the E3 2013 conference. They finally show off some of their lineup, with announcements of games like Dead Rising 3 and the criminally underrated Sunset Overdrive, but the damage was already done. Phil Spencer then came out on stage to cap off this shitstorm by announcing the price.
At $499 in the US, and 499 euros in European markets, and 429 pounds in the UK.
This is absolutely going into the that was rough tier. Alright, this is going really well so far. I'm having a great time. I hope you are too. Let's have a look and see what's next. Alright, let's see what we can get.
There's so many virgins in here. Richard Branson is doing this event.
Well, I do software known for creating.
A longtime partner of Activision in the mid-2000s, the actor was the main host of the company's 2007 conference, and it went about as well as a chocolate house on a summer's day. Have you ever seen a really terrible stand-up comedy show? You know, where the comedian is trying way too hard to be funny, starts to insult the audience for no reason, and just overall makes it incredibly uncomfortable.
What do you want me to do? I don't... Oh, shit.
This is like that, but dialed all the way up to 11. Jamie Kennedy's stilted and distracted delivery with all of his jokes is just painful to watch. Throughout the whole hour-long presentation, he just keeps going and delivers dead joke after dead joke. Even when the developers are trying to show off their game and sell it to the crowd, you've got this drunk ADHD man-child trying to think of the next dumb thing to say. The best thing I can say about this whole ordeal is when the developers and the audience fire back at him.
So I was wondering if I could just do the whole interview as Ozzy Osbourne.
Absolutely.
All right.
Aren't you doing that already?
No.
Yep, this one has to go into the cringe make it stop tier, 100%. Next up is the Spoony XCOM incident.
Who?
Spoony was an online movie and game critic that was part of the channel Awesome Crew, being one of their more memorable cringe lords. Well, it turns out that he also has a pretty embarrassing E3 moment, and it actually had a lot of repercussions for a few Channel Awesome members. At E3 2010, Spoony and fellow YouTuber Angry Joe managed to get a look at the upcoming XCOM game, XCOM the Bureau. The game was different from other XCOM games, as it was an FPS, whereas before XCOM was a strategy game, and it looks like Spoony didn't take kindly to this change. When he and Angry Joe were sharing their thoughts on the footage they saw, Spoony protested his anger with a single word.
Betrayal! What? Betrayal! Betrayed me! This game sucks!
Imagine you're walking along the E3 floor having a great old time, and then you hear some man-child screaming at the top of his lungs in front of a camera. It's almost as bad as watching TikTokers performing dances in public. Look at Angry Joe's face. This single little comedic outburst resulted in a lot of Channel Awesome members getting banned from E3, but especially a creator called Lord Cat, who claimed he got blacklisted by the games industry due to this video. Or maybe it was due to other worser things, who knows. It was definitely a rough moment, but I think this is more fitting for the second-hand embarrassment tier. This next one's a bit specific, and I had to find exactly what this guy was talking about. Xbox's 2017 E3 conference showed off the first look at Forza 7 gameplay, but they spent a solid minute or so talking about a new Porsche car. It was apparently the first time that the car was being showed off to the public, and they hyped it up with seizure-inducing lights and loud rock music. Why was this a thing at E3? Not a clue. But I wouldn't say it was cringe. I mean, it's just a car, and a cool looking car at that. I think that this one is probably going into the 0.5% cringe tier. Up next is not a specific singular moment, but rather a group of individuals. Booth babes. Booth babes were skinny, attractive women, most of the time in scantily clad clothing, that would be on the E3 floor to primarily entice gamers to come and see what they're selling. It's nothing new, other companies have been doing this for ages, but they were a staple of E3 for many years. And it becomes even more disgusting when you see the amount of best booth babes of E3 videos on YouTube. Awkward videos of these women smiling and trying to look sexy while some horny perv is behind the camera zooming in on their assets. Some of these were from big game journalist companies like IGN and Game Trailers, to respected YouTube channels like Rooster Teeth. I mean, at least they admitted what they were doing was shameful. These haven't aged quite well, to say the least, and looking back at them, it begs the question, who thought they were a good idea? I think booth babes need to go into the just a little bit of cringe tier. Heading on over to Ubisoft now, let's talk about the Just Dance performances. A lot of people think that these performances are a massive waste of time and filled with cringy celebrity cameos. And, well, they're not wrong, but I actually really like these performances. I like the colours, the choreography, and overall it's just entertaining to watch. I even like it when they get some celebrities perform, even if it's only for like a minute.
Hey everyone, I'm BB Rexa, and Just Dance 2018 is out this October on all consoles. Bye!
Wait, that's it? I've seen as well that some people don't like the performances because it tells them nothing about the game. Bruh, it's called Just Dance. What do you think you're going to be doing, you fucknugget? You guys need to lighten up. This is going into the 0.5% cringe tier. Now to keep everything balanced, let's talk about something bad in Ubisoft's conferences. Aisha Tyler. Another comedian hired to present a conference and just tell lame jokes to barely any laughs. Whilst not as bad as Jamie Kennedy, she's still pretty awful. Her jokes are either about sex, include a lot of gamer language, or how tall she is. There's a lot of jokes about her height.
And I know, I'm a giantess. I'm literally like two people put into one. I know.
We get it, you're tall, shut up already. Or she'll try and connect with the audience and have some banter, but it just ends up being so painful. Remember when she started talking to that guy who was dressed up as an Assassin's Creed character? Oh, God. Some parts are hard to watch. However, she has something that Jamie Kennedy didn't. Personality. She has very good stage presence, and even when she flubs a line or two, she doesn't start stammering with all the ums and ers that other people do. She works with it and continues to plow through. She's not as bad as people may think. There's a reason why Ubisoft kept bringing her back for years on end, but there are still quite a few bad moments. I think we'll put her in the second-hand embarrassment tier. Let's go back to Microsoft for a second and talk about the Kinect. The Kinect was a product that they were desperately trying to push in the early 2010s, before they eventually realised that nobody really cared for it. Microsoft dedicated multiple E3 conferences to the Kinect and showed off a lot of demos, but these were nothing short of a disaster and created some truly cringeworthy content. These include the fake Milo demo with Peter Molyneux being as pretentious as ever, these two women on a Skype call talking about gamerscore like normal people, what the bottom of an avatar's shoe looks like.
Xbox, play music.
All the game demos featuring kids.
Turn around and play that.
And of course, Usher. We're going to put the Kinect and all of the demos in the That Was Rough tier. So these next few that I'm going to go over, they're not from the Reddit posts. These are ones that I just completely forgot about until I started writing this video. So let's go through them. The announcement of Unravel. I don't know why people think this one is cringe. Is it because he brought a doll out and made it wave to the audience? If that's the case, then so what? I can tell how passionate he is about his game, and listening to him talk about it made me look past the potential cringe. You guys are mean, there's only 0.5% cringe here. Now for some actual cringe. Let's talk about Jesse Wellens, a YouTuber who used to do prank videos with his ex-wife. For some reason, he was allowed to present Need for Speed Payback at EA's 2017 conference, and it went so incredibly well.
So, I am here to talk about Need for Speed. Payback. If you guys didn't know, Need for Speed Payback, I got my boy Marcus, executive producer here. He is the producer of the game. Thank you, Nick, for having me.
Hey man, thanks Jesse.
I've only got 3 words for that whole thing. That was rough. You know, I've just realised we haven't actually talked about Bethesda yet. And honestly, we'd be here all day if we were talking about Todd and the Sweet Little Lies. Their best cringe moment came from their 2019 conference, and involved a man in the audience with a very loud voice. Every time someone on stage announced something new or talked about something coming up later in the year, you could just hear this guy screaming at the top of his lungs. And it was always one word. Sometimes there would be nothing exciting announced or talked about, and yet this guy would still be screaming his head off. Okay, let's actually look through some of the YouTube comments. I wish I could look at life like this guy looks at Bethesda. This guy's family is being held in Todd Howard's basement. The louder he screams, the quicker they're set free. Janitor mops the stage. Audience, yeah! The Titanic sinking, lobsters in the kitchen. Oh god. Whew. I think this was more on the annoying side overall, so we'll go with just a little bit of cringe. For this next one, I want you to imagine that you're a host of a press conference. You're trying to do your thing and read what you've been given to the audience so you can get paid. Then suddenly, lights start flashing, music starts to blare out, and multiple people start coming into the auditorium to play a game of laser tag. Well, if you were Joe McHale at Ubisoft's 2010 conference, you'd experience all of that with your own eyes. The Battletag reveal is one of sheer cringe and bewilderment. I have no idea why those involved thought that this was a good idea. It comes out of nowhere, and a lot of people were left really confused by the entire ordeal. Just look at the audience and you'll see what I mean. I think this one should go into the second-hand embarrassment tier. You know who hasn't appeared in this video yet? Nintendo. They too have had some really bad blunders at E3. There was Shigeru Miyamoto's technical difficulties during the Skyward Sword presentation, and the infamous Cammy Dunaway with her terrible attempts to connect with the crowd.
How do you do, fellow kids?
But nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to the dreadful Wii music performance. Now, to be fair, the actual explanation of the game and how it plays is completely fine, partly because it's Shigeru Miyamoto talking to us, and he's always a delight to listen to. But it's when they actually play the game where everything falls apart. That Mario-themed performance was comparable to listening to your kid whack the xylophone over and over and over again. There's something about it that just feels so awkward, like no one has any idea what's going on or what they're doing. But my favourite part of the whole thing has to be this guy, Ravi Drums. If you couldn't tell by his name, he's playing the drums, feet out and all. He introduces the Wii Music presentation with a neat little drum solo. Here, take a listen. Well, I don't know about you, but I'd say that was pretty decent. Oh, alright, he's still going. Sorry. Wonderful, Ravi. Really well. Are you done now? We get it. You can play the drums, mate. Well done. Ravi, stop. Stop it right now, please. We get it. You can play drums, okay? Stop it! This definitely deserves to be in the cringe make it stop tier. And for our final entry, I have saved the best for last. The 2010 Konami press conference. Oh boy, where do we start with this one? This entire conference is infamous for being a disaster from start to finish. Technical difficulties? Check. Awkward people talking on stage? Check. Humour that falls flat with every new joke? Check. Uncomfortable atmosphere? Check, check, motherfucking check. There are so many iconic moments and memes that have spawned from this dumpster fire. Who could forget all the classic lines from the 99 Nights 2 guy, such as extreme or 1 million troops, wow. Or the luchador wrestlers that started slapping each other and then assaulting this guy on stage. Or the Silent Hill developer standing behind his colleague and staring at him whilst he tries to talk. This entire press conference has to be seen to be believed. So I think there is only one thing left to do. Not only is the Konami press conference going into the cringe make it stop tier, but we are going to crown it the most cringiest E3 moment of all time. We did it, boys. We found the cringiest E3 moment. We've trudged through awful jokes, cringy people, and moments that almost made me just want to gouge my fucking eyes out. And you know, after going back through the shit-covered history books, I'm a little bit sad. I really miss E3. It was a huge event, and stuff like that just doesn't happen anymore. All of the main events are presented over shallow live streams, and a lot of the charm that E3 had is absent. Summer Game Fest is the closest thing that we have to what E3 used to be, but it's filled with product placement and speedrunning through the trailers as fast as possible. It's a true Jeff Keighley experience.
That little smile he has? That is years of training.
Does this mean that E3 was the perfect gaming event? Oh, absolutely not. There was a lot of bad things about E3, and its refusal to change and adapt to cheaper alternatives resulted in it eventually fading into the history books. Whilst it did a lot of things wrong, there were also some legendary moments that came from these shows. Moments that live on in gamers' minds that are still discussed to this day. The moments that stand the test of time and are recorded down in the history books as goated parts of gaming lore. Wait, this gives me an idea.
Next time, baby.